Folks, good evening. Welcome to the Thursday, April 9th, 2015 meeting of the Lawrence Public Schools School Committee. At this time, we'd ask that you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Have a seat. This time, I'd ask that we observe a moment of silence for our troops serving overseas. Thank you and good evening. To begin, I'd like to reference to the school committee information that was sent to you both in your packets, including requested documentation on the curriculum for abstinence, the President's Council meeting materials, as well as the winter edition of the Appleseed Literary Magazine. I believe Joan has added to that packet tonight the postcard for Peter Pan, which is upcoming. We hope everyone gets to see the show. It should be wonderful, as well as a flyer on the Lawrence Recruitment Fair. It is that time of year to recruit teachers, as well as a copy of the newsletter, The Breen Buzz, which is very exciting, coming out of the Breen School. So just please make a note of that for your files. To begin tonight, we'd like to start with the Mass All-State Treble Chorus. LPS has had 14 of our students accepted into the Massachusetts All-State Treble Chorus based on blind auditions. Over 500 kids from across the state auditioned, and the top 200 were selected to come back for the final festival ensemble. We've shown significant improvement from last year when we sent 6 students from 2 schools. This year we have 5 schools participating, and 14 students were invited to sing in the festival chorus at the Seaport Hotel this past March. At this time, I'd like to welcome my security guard and a member of the Mass All-State Treble Chorus, Lillian Disla, who's going to speak about her experience for the Mass All-State Treble Chorus. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Lillian Disla, and I have sung with my school chorus for 2 years. When I auditioned for treble choir, I had to work very hard and be very brave. I had to record my singing voice onto a computer. I was so nervous, but it was a lot of fun. When I found out that I was accepted, my parents and I felt so proud. I really felt like I could do anything. When we got our music packets, we rehearsed for an hour almost every day after school for 3 months. At the final performance, singing with 200 singers was just incredible. I felt so confident after the experience. I made new friends and got to sing in a beautiful hotel. The conductor, Dr. Bowers, taught me how to sing beautifully and not sound like a 3rd grader. No offense to 3rd graders. I recommend singing groups for everyone because it can really change you.
Thank you very much, Lillian. At this time, we'd like to call up Irene Idicheria and the Mass All-State Treble Chorus selectees from Lawrence. We would ask Urania to come up and bang the gavel to symbolize that the chorus is now here. Urania, please come and bang the gavel. There you go. Thank you very much. Actually, we'd like them to stand behind the school committee for a picture, if that's possible. They're going the right way. They're going the right way.
Set. Great, thank you.
Item number 2 on our agenda tonight is the preliminary budget overview. We're going to ask Deputy Superintendent Seth Racine to come up to discuss the process and the preliminary budget numbers. Mr. Racine.
Good evening. As the projector heats up and a presentation is being passed around, last school committee meeting we came with you at the same time as a preview for Peter Pan as sort of coming attractions, FY16, the budget. Now I would take a look at this meeting as here's the first half, and we're going to talk about revenue and where we start. The next meeting in May will be sort of part 2, which we will talk about expenditures, how we're spending our money, where is it going, all of that. So it may not be as exciting as Peter Pan, the beginning of that, and hearing about Never Never Land and pirates and a shadow being locked in a box, but instead it's about revenue, so at least for me that's as exciting too. And really, in any budget process, you first need to start with how much money do you have. And so that's what this meeting is. How much money are we going to have next year? So it all ends up starting with how much the state says a district like ours is supposed to be able to spend. So since 1993, the state determines what is an adequate budget level for districts. And they take a look at students, and they have a formula that we're going to sort of walk through at a high level. And every year they determine how much, at a minimum, should every district be spending. Up here you'll see in our situation the top number here for next year, fiscal year 2016. So this is the 2015-16 school year. The state says we should be spending approximately $186 million on education. And almost all of that is made up in state aid. 95%, which has been consistent historically, is made up out of state aid. So how do they come up with $186 million? It's really 2 factors, and the first is enrollment. They take enrollment counts for every district and Commonwealth Charter School on October 1, and they use that information to determine how many students they think are going to be there next year, and will apply a rate to it. One thing that's important to note, I think, here is we are, as we've talked about in the past, we're a growing district. It's really exciting, but we have a lot of kids coming. And what ends up happening for us is they take an enrollment count as of October 1, and they're going to use that for the following year's budget. But they're not going to look at necessarily the spring or that year. And so what ends up happening is there's actually a lag of a year from when the students are there, and anyone who may arrive after, for when the district will actually receive the money. I'll walk through one example on this slide, which is, let's start with fiscal year 12, the first column there. So this is for the 2011-2012 school year. And they took the enrollment as of October 1, 2010. And at that time, in Lawrence, there was 12,284 students. So they're going to use that number to drive the budget for the following year. Well, actually, what happened on October 1 in 2011, the year that they projected for? We were actually 12,900. So we are 600 students higher than what was used to drive the foundation budget. And that's actually been consistent over the last 4 years. Every year of foundation enrollment count is used that is usually lower than the number of students who are there. For this school year right now, they used an enrollment count last October 1, so the 2012 October 1 enrollment of 13,504. A year later, how many students were there? It was actually an additional 385. And right now, it's still grown, and it's 296 students higher. So we have over, as we've said to you before, we're now approaching 14,200 students. But this year's budget was built assuming 13,500. So that's the first factor. Second factor, they look at what is an per pupil rate. How much are we spending on per students? Now, they do differentiate this by, for English language learners, low income, they look at students with disabilities, so it is differentiated. But in general, they take rates that they determine that would meet an adequate spending level, and then they'll adjust it by an inflation factor. What's happening in Lawrence's situation? In fiscal year 13, our foundation budget average per pupil was $11,549 per student on average. For next year, from here, the 2015-16 school year, the fiscal year 2016 year, it's projected to be $12,257. Over 4 years, this rate's grown by about 1.5% every year on average. So that means we need to keep spending within those constraints of 1.5% every year. So we all know that benefits go up, utility costs, everything like that, but the way the state foundation budget formula is driven, on average, it's more around 1.5% that the revenue comes in for us. So those are the two factors that drive to the foundation budget formula. But there's also other costs that get subtracted out before we can get to our appropriation level. The first are municipal-related costs. So really there's two main factors here: administrative business function costs that the city provides on behalf of the school district, as well as facility maintenance costs. That is in the blue color up on the slide. The next category is for charter tuition costs. When the state creates how much a district or a city should be spending on its students, they look at both the enrollment count for students who attend charter schools as well as the district. So they need to take the amount that should be going to charter schools off the top first before it comes to us. So these two costs together are subtracted out of that foundation budget. And for next year, it's projected to be $21.1 million. It's grown about 57% over the last 4 years. So we're not quite done yet before we can get to actually how much are we going to get for general fund revenue. After you take those calculations into consideration, then there are two costs that you add on top of it. Instead of subtracting and subtracting, we now get to add. And it is for the cost of adult education and transportation. These are costs that the state does not think should be part of their foundation budget, and so they're funded by the municipality. And in our situation, the real driving increase is going to be in transportation. We've been dealing with this the current year in the increase in enrollment, as we've been talking about. So for the students we bus, for students with disabilities, this cost is going up. We have a new contract for our special education bus services, as well as a rise in transporting homeless students. This sometimes makes the news a little bit, but if a student becomes homeless and is put into housing in another community, then both the community where the student left and the host community where the student is, they both have to split the cost 50-50 for transporting that student. And what ends up actually happening is that students oftentimes are placed in communities pretty far away. We've transported students from Waltham or Framingham or Boston, have to go down to pick them up and then bring them back every single day. And so this has actually increased over the last, especially over the last 5 years, and has been an issue that's been in the news around the state as the state tries to figure out how to wrestle and potentially help support municipalities dealing with these costs. So it's not just about the general fund, there are also grants. We receive a number of grants, both from the federal government as well as the state. And we actually anticipate seeing a decrease in grants. As you'll see in this slide, we sort of try to categorize them as one-time and recurring. Recurring grants, we sort of say, look, every year, based on our formula, sort of like an entitlement formula, we expect to get a grant every year. Title I, for example, from the federal government, we've been getting every single year. We anticipate we're going to continue to get that with no major changes from that. There are also grants that come that could be for 1 year or it could be for a multi-year grant, which allow us time to figure out, okay, how can we fund maybe a pilot program, but recognize that funding will eventually be going away. So we've categorized that as one-time grants here in this chart. The one-time grants are actually going to be significantly decreasing from $8.2 million to $4.5 million next year. This is driven mainly from the school redesign grants for some of our level 4 schools. These school redesign grants are for a 3-year time period, and those will be expiring at some of our schools. So we've been planning for that, we've been anticipating that, but they will be going away, as well as Race to the Top, which was a multi-year grant for a number of years, that will finally be expiring at the end of this fiscal year. There was one recurring grant that is right now scheduled to be eliminated for next year that frankly caught us by surprise, the full day kindergarten grant. This grant's been around for, I'd say maybe about 10 years or so, and is for the state. It's a state grant, not a federal grant, and this state grant's about $25 million. We receive about almost $500,000 every year. And this grant is scheduled to be eliminated, subject to the process that we outlined before. The process at the state level is that the governor proposes a budget, then it goes through the House and the Senate. They come together for a conference committee. It goes back to the governor to finalize the budget. So at this stage, it's scheduled to be eliminated. We hope that's not necessarily the case, but we are planning to assume that it will be eliminated in the budget. So I talked a lot, and so at the end of the day, some people just say, well, what's the bottom line? So for the general fund, we expect that to be going up by about $6.5 million. Grants declining by about $4.4 million for a total projected budget, all funds, of about $192 million, which is about a 1% increase, about $2.1 million. So again, the last meeting we talked about sort of a high level what's happening at the state, but what's happening internally for planning. So we've been finalizing our revenue estimates, which we presented to you today. And we've also been determining for central costs, what we estimate those to be. For example, pension costs, health insurance costs, electricity costs, transportation, which we did allude to. We've been setting our school budget allocation. So actually right now, schools are in the process of finalizing their plans. They've been working with their teacher leadership teams, school site councils, to determine their budgets, their staff, if there's going to be any staffing changes or they want to increase a budget here or spending there. They've been doing that process and should be coming back and presenting their budgets back to us in the next week or so. We'll be compiling all that information together, and at the next May meeting, we're going to present a comprehensive budget, so you're able to see what's happening at every school, happening for central departments, detail at high level, a detailed level, but also a high level what's happening in overall for benefits, for salaries, and for things like that. So once they come back together for that, we're going to put it all together into a package and present to you for part two, which is basically, we said part one is how much money are we getting? Part two is, so then where is it going? How are we spending it? And what's happening for next year? And with that, anything, Jeff, you'd like to say?
I think we want to take questions, or?
Does anybody have any questions? Mr. Blatchford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So currently, I have the list that you'd given us for unions that we have contracts with and that we didn't have contracts with. How many current unions do we not have contracts with as newly negotiated contracts, I guess, because they're operating under old contracts, I assume, until they have new ones, correct?
So we have negotiated contracts with the teachers union, the BBEs, long-term subs, the nurses, the RNs, who are part of now the teachers union, and school safety officers. For all other unions, we have been in conversations with them, and we continue to meet with them.
So for the unions that we don't currently have contracts with, I guess the question is, how long have they been without a contract?
I think most contracts had expired or were expiring before receivership had started several years ago. So it's been multiple years for all contracts.
And I guess the final question would be, if we don't know the negotiated cost for those unions, are we just assuming that it'll be close to what we have, or are we assuming that it's going to go up? And if it doesn't, how do we adjust to that, I guess would be the question.
It's a great question. So what we look at is for those contracts that may have expired but have a salary schedule, we continue to operate with that salary schedule. If someone is scheduled to move up a step based on years of service, they would move up. So we budget for those costs. And then if there is a change in the compensation schedule, we will need to adjust the budget accordingly for that in the current year. And so when we do enter into a formal agreement with the union, we will need to make adjustments during the year, and then for the following year, make those changes and put that into the budget. So,
Okay. Thank you.
okay.
Ms. Ortiz?
So, going back to the expense that we incur for transporting homeless students, do we have a number of how many homeless students we have, or percentage of students that are homeless?
We can get you that information. I don't think Kevin Clement is here today. I think he actually had to go present at City Council, but he has all that information. But it is a growing number of students, including, as Mr. Racine said, some students who are traveling quite a distance, both to get here and then to go back.
Well, it's something that I'm aware of, and I just didn't know. I guess it would be interesting to see the number. There's an initiative right now to address that, and it'd be interesting to know the number to help that movement.
We can absolutely get you that information.
Yeah, and support those students, because seeing it here and mentioning it, now it just makes it, I guess, that much more real.
Yeah, so
Our youth homeless need our support.
we'll be able to show you both the numbers of students over the last few years to show you the increase as well as the associated cost increase, because we now account for it.
Right.
So.
That'd be
We'll
great.
provide that to you. Yep.
Do
And
you
then
have some information you want to share, Nelson?
Yes, that'd be great. One minute, Nelson, so he can get you a mic.
I will get you the actual number. We'll work with Kevin Clement to get you that if necessary, but the number is on the 300 students for the whole district. So,
Students.
but that doesn't mean, when it comes to cost, transportation, and stuff like that, there is further conversations that we will need to have, because not every student actually will get transportation depending on where they live.
Okay.
So we have to talk about that if you want. I'm the homeless liaison for the district. And we are currently, actually, I'm going to give you a package in a little while that has information on how we are helping families who are homeless.
Thank you, Mr. Matan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Ortiz?
So the next question, it's alarming to me, I think it's Seth's last name, Racine, Mr. Racine, trying to be respectful. The full-day kindergarten grant elimination, that just sets off bells and whistles 110% for me. What does that mean to our budget? Does that mean that there's a possibility that we won't offer full-day kindergarten anymore? Because our neighboring towns, friends that go to neighboring towns or around us, our neighbors, they go half-day. They either go in the morning or they go in the afternoon. My experience, because I guess of this grant, my child has gone all day. And so I thought that was just automatic. This is what you do. You go to school all day here. So
I'm really glad you raised this question. Yeah,
Make it
so
direct.
let's just put any myths down out there right now.
yeah, there's no more full-day kindergarten.
But we will continue to fund full-day kindergarten
Okay.
for all 5-year-olds. The service level will not change.
Okay.
This grant pays for paraprofessionals in those classrooms. Despite the fact that the grant is eliminated, it's a priority for us to provide high-quality full-day kindergarten. And we're going to continue to do that, and we're going to continue to do it with having paraprofessionals in those classrooms. What this has forced us to do is make cuts elsewhere, and we always look, when we try to cut, it's always central office first. If there's anything left to cut, but that's where we go first, because we want to continue to provide high-quality full-day kindergarten where there's both a teacher and a paraprofessional for those students.
Could I also add that this particular cut has engendered some serious concern around the state, and I believe that has made its way to Beacon Hill, and so it's unclear if that cut will remain as a cut or not, based on what the legislators and others decide to do.
Mrs. Mariano?
Thank you for that clarification.
So yeah, no, still going to continue.
Thank you.
Mrs. Mariano?
Yes, this is, Seth, this is just a follow-up on the transportation for the students that are homeless. I understand the McKinney-Vento law that the children have to be transported. You alluded to the fact that there's some conversation throughout the state. Is there some talk about changing this law as far as bringing the kids closer to their own schools rather than transporting them? Because I can't believe that Lawrence is the only district having this type of a crisis as far as the cost of transportation. It's got to be a common thread throughout the gateway cities anyway.
Absolutely, it really is, and I think you've, every year around this time, you start to see more and more headlines that are happening, whether it's where students are being housed, in what facilities they're being housed for temporary housing, and it absolutely affects especially gateway cities, where students could be assigned in a pretty far away. I think this is one of those areas where the new governor is looking at how to improve the services they provide and digging into details of how are students assigned to places, what is a priority list that happens. I think this is gets into a little bit of the management piece at the state level of how they assign homeless students to what shelters or motels or hotels. And there has been a number of conversations at the state level with the legislature about providing funding, or at least some partial funding, to help support these communities. I don't think they're able to provide usually 100% funding, but something towards this cost as they also try to provide the service in a more efficient manner.
Yeah, what I'm getting from the state, Ms. Mariano, is that they're not going to change the law. They're just going to change the need to transport the kid by not having them set up in a motel that's really far from their home or in a shelter really far from their home. But there will be pain. I mean, I just want to be clear about this. No one should be, there's going to be a cut somewhere, and if it's not this, the kindergarten cut, there's going to be a cut somewhere. And it's just, when you have, when you're leaving a fiscal year that was over budgeted, and then you're entering in one that you're in a deficit to begin with, people should just be prepared. There's going to be cuts, and so it's not going to be pretty. And I think that I don't, even on the local level, when I see the amount of money we have to spend on transportation and for adult ed, we just try to figure out where we're going to get that money. I mean, that's the end. So there's going to be pain, and I just want to make sure everybody understands that.
No, I think that's absolutely right, Mr. Mayor. I think you see our budget is going up, but when you take out the grants, it's only going up slightly. And then you factor in the cost of rising utilities and pay and all that. And in essence, it means we actually have to really shape our priorities in such a way that we focus on what's most important. I think, full-day kindergarten is something that we believe in deeply. We desperately want to help our homeless students. I do recognize, however, though, that there is a time when if a student is being transported an hour and a half or more, depending on weather, each way, that may not be beneficial to the student. I think the governor's office has looked very carefully at the motel situation, which, for those of you who follow it, it appears to be that we are paying more to house people in a hotel than we would for them to be actually housed in the city they're from via rent. So I think there's going to be some changes. What that looks like, I have no crystal ball, I don't know, but I think people recognize that we have an issue here.
Mrs. Mariano?
I'm all set, thank you.
Anything else on the budget? Mr. Blatchford?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question about, I guess, the grant that we received for, was it the preschool, or that we were essentially putting kids into Head Start with higher pay for the teachers and not the administrators, but the higher pay for the teachers and instructors. Is that a one-time grant, or is that one of the grants that's going away?
I'm really glad you raised that, and we are not, that wasn't highlighted here, but I'm really glad, Mr. Blatchford, that you raised that. The state of Massachusetts applied and received a competitive grant from the federal government that is allowing the state to pilot in 4 to 5 communities a full day, full year preschool program for 4-year-olds. And in our situation, for Lawrence, we were one of the sites selected, and we're able to serve 129 4-year-olds who are not being served by any other program. The state then picked the provider who's going to be providing these services, and they picked Head Start, and the Community Group, with organizations that have been running these programs for a long time and well-known and proven providers. The grant is sort of a pass-through through the district, and I think the idea and the intent by the state, which was to say, right now, there's sort of the number of preschool childhood programs that are happening in isolation, and then there's this big gap towards kindergarten that's been going to the district. And how do you start to merge them together? And I think this is one effort towards it, which is saying they're going to continue to provide these high-quality services year-round. Their employees, their program, their curriculum. But how can we start to get them together? And so part of it is the grant's going to come through the district, and then we're going to provide it to them. But also, we're going to enroll the students and try to get the registration process as a pilot for these 129 students start to align. And so we have a weekly meeting with our providers, and it's a multi-year grant, which is exciting. It's a 4-year grant, although it's a calendar year, 4-year grant, so it's going to end up being a little messy at the end of the year. But it's meant to kick off this September for 129 4-year-olds who are not being served by any program. So it's very exciting, and thank you, Mr. Blatchford, for raising that.
And to follow up on that, how many are currently being served outside of that program? And I guess with this budget, the question isn't, are there plans to expand it, but in the future, are there plans to expand that?
We can get you the specific number of 4-year-olds who are being served by other community-based providers. I think the grant was meant to try to serve the gap of numbers of students who are not being served. So there's at least 129 students who are not being served. Your question about, so what happens when the grant expires? I think the state's perspective on this is if we're able to provide really high-quality programs, can this be the catalyst to start to expand full-day and potentially even full-year programs for 4-year-olds, whether that's across for all gateway cities, for the Commonwealth, who knows? I mean, this is a major election topic issue in the last governor's race, but I think what's very exciting for us is that we are at the cutting pilot edge for Lawrence, and we're able to see what happens and be part of that and support our community-based providers who are going to be doing this.
Great, thank you.
I forget the candidate toting that didn't win the election. Anything else with the budget? Questions for the budget? Thank you, Mr. Racine.
Thank you.
Superintendent?
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to call up Nelson Bouton, who's going to share information about the work that's happening at the Family Resource Center. Nelson?
Good evening, everyone. And welcome to the Family Resource Center. I probably have about 5 minutes to do this, 5 or 7 minutes. So first of all, I want to say...
Is it 5 or 7? I just want to be... I'm
it
just
depends. Between 5 and 7.
I'm just messing.
Probably less now. The Family Resource Center is basically this space that you see here. The physical space is the lower level of 60 Island Street. We have 4 departments represented here. We have the safety and transportation, special ed, the community, family, and student engagement, and also we have the high-tech center for the adult learning center. So the testing center is here, okay? I actually we put a brochure in your package there that outlines the hours, and it gives you an idea of the different services that we are providing. That brochure is bilingual, has been provided to the schools. So if you need more detailed information, also I'm willing to sit down with you. But some of the things that I want to give you is basically the mission. The mission of the Family Resource Center is to make sure families are connected to opportunities and resources. We are a hub for services, not necessarily direct providers of services. And I mentioned that in a previous meeting. The hours of operations are currently regular hours, 8 to 4:30. However, we are in negotiations or conversations with the union, and also we're having conversations with administrators to expand those hours. If it is a family resource center, what we envision is having one Saturday a month open during the morning to the afternoon, and also one night a week, all the way to 7. So those are conversations that are happening, and once we have the final schedule, then we'll make sure that you guys are aware of this information. Then I would like to talk to you about some updates that have to do in 3 different buckets: student enrollment and registration, community, family, and student engagement, student and family support and opportunities. So let's start with student enrollment and registration. As you remember, we started doing centralized registration last year, and let me tell you, I have learned a lot since then. So we are putting a lot of work, effort, and to improve not only the process, but the tools that we are using. So we're gonna have a combination of, hopefully, a combination of both appointments and drop-in times when families can come in to register their children. And I will announce that after we actually have the final schedule. That's part of the conversations that we are having right now. But picture a place where you can come in the morning for an appointment, because parents work. And you want to make sure that if you're taking some time off, that when you get here and you park your car, you get off the car, someone is going to take care of you, right? And not find a line that is from here to who knows, and then suddenly you know that you just wasted your time. So, but also you want to make sure that if a parent needs to just can come in one day and do the registration, we want to have those flexible times when they can come in without an appointment. So we're going to build those in the process. We're also working to add an online solution or a solution to our current database system that we use for enrollment to actually increase the effectiveness of the process. So it will make it easier to enroll children and have information right into our database. I'm not going to get into that because it's really, it's not fun, but it's work that needs to happen. But I will tell you that part of the process is that families will be able to fill out, those who are like technical savvy and can go online and fill out an application will be able to do that. And also hopefully upload documents that can be reviewed later on here as original documents. So if, you can start the process even prior coming here. So we are working on that, okay? And we'll still have the, paper application process soon. Community and family engagement, we have, I don't know if you remember the block party that we have at the Weather V. There were, tons of families there, probably 300 or more. Now we have another block party at the Up Academy Millennium. Hennessy School will be doing one soon, and possibly the Up Academy Oliver too. So that's continued to be, that's an initiative that the superintendent office started. And thank you for supporting that. Schools are taking advantage of that, and it's a way to bring the community in, learn about the great stuff that is happening at the school, and also learn about the partners. We're also starting a new initiative called Parent Ambassadors. That's part of the Working Cities Challenge initiative, where we're going to have 6 parents, actually, of the Lawrence Public Schools are going to be sort of like the word says, ambassadors, and we're going to help connect parents and families to resources. You might see them at some of the events, setting up informational tables and helping parents connect to those resources. Some of them you might see them, you might hear them talking on the radio, like all over the place, just helping. What else? Career panels. We had a banking panel on March 26th. And if you saw if you went on the website, you probably noticed that this room was packed and we didn't have enough space. But that was a good problem to have. Probably 2 or 3 people standing up, but still, it was really to have that amount of people. We had about 7 banks represented here, and the goal of the career panels is basically connect families and parents with potential new careers that they want to embark in. There were mock interviews. There were people that actually might come out of there with some jobs, but we are not completely certain of that yet. We're going to have a healthcare panel on April 30th, and in mid to late May, we're going to have one about manufacturing. And each of these have at least between 5 or 10 partners, and I'm talking for-profit and non-profit partners that are actually part of the panel. This is the real deal. It's people telling them what, sharing what does it really take to embark in those fields. What else? We have we had a newcomer orientation. We had tons of people this year, right? And we are planning to do something else for next year. Continue to provide in child care. We started a new initiative now that is, you're gonna see it there is a calendar actually of the Family Resource Center and also activities of partners and collaborators. So that gets sent home to families so that they are aware of what is happening. When it comes to a student and family supporting opportunities, we are creating a resource guide that will be done before the, just in time for the new year, hopefully by the end of this month. And the idea is to also make some of that part of the registration process where families will get like one-page document where it will give them like basic information on resources that have to do with housing and other services, okay? So it's not just registration, but you know, you are new to the city or you are in the city for a while, these are some resources. We are gonna continue doing the career panels, pitch contests. I don't know if you saw the news or you saw the flyers, but we're gonna be having 2 pitch contests. One in Spanish, which is coming up soon. I remember the exact day, May 2nd. And that is basically for people who have innovative ideas that they want to embark and start like a small business or a social service. They can come and compete and get prizes all the way to, I think, is $1,500. And that's in collaboration with the Expand Foundation and the Sandbox. So that's one of the partners that we have. But this one will be specific to Lawrence families, and we are recruiting families within the Lawrence Public Schools. Insurance enrollment assistant, we have someone here every Thursday in the morning helping families who don't have insurance actually apply and obtain health insurance. This is in partnership with the Greater Lawrence Family Health Center. We are starting to have the Greater Lawrence Community Action Council coming here, and hopefully they will be providing some play groups. They will be providing play groups during registration events that we are having. By play groups, I mean these are teachers that are gonna come and facilitate activities with parents where they not only develop relationship skills, but it's also a way to, other developmental skills. Daycare, also there's also a daycare provider training that we have been working with the community group for 15 parents of the Lawrence Public Schools. What else? Just in the pipeline, and I'm almost done. We are starting a new, we're gonna be piloting a new referral process for families that come from different places into the Family Resource Center. We get referrals from the Lawrence, from individual schools, from partners, from DCF, name it. All kinds of different sources, families that come here looking for support. So we are creating a referral process just to streamline that and make sure that no family falls through the cracks. What else? And I'm willing to share that information with you of the once, I'll be around here if you need additional information. What else? We are working on, hopefully for next year, a parent conference. Just picture those conferences that we have when we go, outside the city sometimes where you have, 5 or 6 workshops that are offered twice and people get to pick 2. We want to do something similar, but on topics that are really relevant to parents. And it's not just about education, but it's also about how we can connect them with, the community as a whole. So we are looking to do that, hopefully, for the next school year. There is also an idea of creating a leadership institute for parents. I would like to see parents who are, identify parents through the PTO leaders, through what we call the community education circles and other initiatives happening in the city, and start training them, giving them the skills to go back to the schools and actually engage in a productive, collaborative way with schools to help support the turnaround process. And that will be in partnership with also local nonprofits and other partners. And, with the Adult Learning Center, we are partnering for career readiness workshops and soft skills, and also for workplace ESOL and ESOL in general. So we're going to be working, now that we have the HISET Center here, and the director of the Adult Learning Center has been very supportive, and we're going to continue working with them. So those are the things that are in the pipeline for next year. I just wanted you to be aware of it. And the other thing is that I want to highlight that, all this great work wouldn't be possible without the support of the partners of the Lawrence Working Families Initiative and other organizations and agencies, including for-profit agencies like the banks. And so I just want to commend them all for doing this, and we're going to continue working hard to make sure that we do a great job. This is just the beginning. Little by little, we're going to become known. Just to know, we are here since December 13th, and since then, there has been a lot of snow, holidays, and I feel like there is a lot that is happening for such a short time. But I recognize the road is long, and we're going to be here and continue doing a lot of work. Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Mayor, for Mr. Bouton?
40 days and 40 nights of snow, huh? Any questions about the Family Resource Center? Mrs. Mariano?
Nelson, I want to commend you for, and the superintendent, for this facility here. This, I'll go way back. This used to be a dream of mine, to have a center where parents could come, a place where they would be able to access all the resources in the community, everything under one roof. And I think you've accomplished that, and you're highlighting things that are happening in the future. So, I'm thrilled for that, and any support that we can give you and I can give you, certainly we're here for you to help you out. Just one other comment, that parent conference that you spoke about for next year, are you planning it almost like what happens in Boston? And maybe, Jeff, you could, I know there was some kind of a parent university or something that was held in Boston, and I always liked I attended one, and I always liked the way parents were invited there, and they could earn some credits towards their education. Is that something we see happening in the future?
A lot of the work that's being done now could lead to that very thing. We're actually going to ask Michelle Brooks, who leads Parent University in the Boston Public Schools, or did. I think she still leads it. I'll have to reach out to her. We're going to ask her to come up probably in the fall to kind of assess the center and to talk to folks and see. I mean, that's a nationally recognized program that really has done an amazing job of getting parents not just back involved in the school system, but also launching themselves towards their own education and what's next, resume, I mean, just a lot. So we're definitely going to have a connection with them in the fall.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
I would also be remiss if I did not say that, part of this wonderful building that we all agree is wonderful is defrayed by a grant called the Working Cities Challenge Grant, which the mayor on his, I believe, first day on the job drove down in a rainstorm to help us get. So the mayor did a great job in helping us to win that. So that pays for a portion of the rent here, so we appreciate that.
Okay. Student member?
Hello. Is there a Facebook page?
No, we don't have a Facebook page right now.
Oh, no. I just thought it would be a great idea because I know, a lot of, my mom and her friends are all on Facebook and they can just share.
There is Lawrence Public Schools, and we post stuff in there too. But the Family Resource Center doesn't have his own web page or, Facebook page.
All right, thank you.
But that's a good question, though.
Something to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Boutin.
Thank you all. I'll be in the back if you want to talk to me after the meeting. Thank you.
Before going to final questions and then public comment, I just want to highlight to this committee several important dates that are upcoming. The first is the Go Public College Fair, which is happening on the 17th, which I believe is a week from tomorrow, on Friday at the high school. LHS Gear Up will be hosting the Go Public College Fair. I'm sure that Secretary Peisner, and I believe even the mayor and other dignitaries are planning to come speak at the PAC for that. That is also followed by a college fair in the gymnasium, which is an amazing turnout by not just local but national colleges come to work with our kids. So if folks have time to come to that, it starts at 11 a.m. I think it starts from 9 a.m. and then goes through 11 and maybe longer. We'll get you more information on the times, but it definitely starts at 9, and I believe it's done in sections. So the kids, one group goes to the PAC, the other group goes to the college fair, and then they switch. We have a new meeting date for school committee in the month of May. That will be the big budget meeting. We are pushing that back to May 21st, given that LHS Alumni Night falls on the same date as our scheduled May school committee meeting. We did hear from the Alumni Association who asked if there's anything we could do, and I hope we're okay to move that date to the 21st. I'm proposing that now for folks. I don't know if people want to check their calendars or if that's far enough away that they can make it, but, we really we want folks to be able to go to the Alumni Night, which is a great opportunity for our kids to win scholarships and support, and so we are happy to move that date. Mr. Mayor, I don't know if you have any comments about that.
Nope.
May graduation, the graduation for our seniors this year is going to be May 31st at 12 noon. For those of us who are follically challenged, I would recommend sunscreen, as that has been a problem in previous graduation ceremonies. It does get warm, so please mark your calendar. May 31st will be that. Invitations will come from my office as the date gets closer. Also, the August graduation, we do have students who are currently in credit recovery, making up classes, who may not graduate in time for June, but will take summer school or take other classes to get to an August graduation. That date is scheduled for August 6th at 5 o'clock in the Performing Arts Center. Again, as we get closer, we will send you an invitation to that event as well. But just early heads up on when these things are happening so people know. And I believe that is all of my things. I don't know if there are final questions, Mr. Mayor, from the group before we move to public comment.
I just wanted to thank you for all the information we asked for from the last meeting. We got it in a timely manner. I think that if we hadn't, we'd probably tell you. So I want to make sure, since we did, that we really do appreciate getting that information. It helps us out when we have questions to be able to go through them all. Does anybody have any questions?
I just have.
Ms. Mariano?
I just have a reminder for next Thursday night, Lawrence Landscapes, the art auction over at the
yes.
Everett Mill Building. Please make sure we all go and support our kids.
Hear, hear.
Thank you.
What was the time and date around that?
Next Thursday night, it's the 16th, I believe, at 5:30 at the Everett Mills Building, the 6th
street.
floor.
It's across the street. Mr. Blatchford?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess it's not really a question, it's more of an announcement for everyone at home that doesn't know the dates. Since I don't think this is going to be going up until next week, I assume it won't be going up tonight, Monday. So next week, April 16th, 17th, and 18th at 7 p.m., there's a show, Peter Pan. If anyone doesn't know that date, I'm sure it's on the LPS website. And there's also a second show on Saturday, the 18th at 2 p.m. So that was that.
I will be taking my children. I would encourage everyone to come to the show. It's going to be amazing.
I already saw a highlight. I saw
Oh, really?
They got to fly in front of me. It was amazing.
That makes me nervous.
And I guess the second question I would have would be, is it possible for us to go into executive session next meeting just to discuss union contracts and current situations of that?
It's fine with me, Mr. Mayor.
Same here. Yep. Take a
And
motion to add that onto the agenda.
Motion.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you. And
Okay, so-
that's it.
So I have, before we move to comment, public comment, I want to just make sure I have my homework straight for the day. We need to get homeless transportation numbers to the school committee as soon as possible, and we're going to add executive session to discuss union contracts at the next agenda.
Yeah.
Anything else that I
Just,
missed?
the other thing is that I think we're in a place that we may want to have may be able to give a report on the central office status.
Okay.
And I did not have that for this evening, but we'll know better by that date. So if we can add that to the agenda.
Okay,
Can I entertain a motion?
Could you be more specific about the central office status?
Central office update.
You want an update on what we're doing, or you want an update on the future of where our central office is located? I'm confused.
All of the above.
Yes.
Okay, sold. Joni, will you make a note, please? Fair enough.
And that may also need to have to go into executive session, seeing that there is a lawsuit.
Fair enough.
I think we have to actually put that on there as well, just so we're not in violation of the open meeting law.
Okay, so why don't we just plan to put that on the executive
To
session
executive session.
with the union contract, central office and that. Fair enough. Okay, at this time, we'd
I'm
like
sorry,
to. Oh,
Mayor.
Oh, Ms. Ortiz.
one thing. Can I have for the next meeting the rate of attrition of our teachers that left mid-year?
Sure. Let me write it down or I'm going to forget.
Mr. Blatchford.
Thank you. And just so my future planning, do we have any idea on when elementary school graduations will be? I assume sometime in May.
Dr. Bergeron says June 17th and 18th.
Make it so.
She is going to give you the information on that for when people can attend.
Any comment or questions from the student members? Representative, I just want to make sure. Sometimes we get kind of fast and we don't get a chance to give you an opportunity. You guys good? All right. Mr. Superintendent.
Okay, at this time we have 2 speakers for public comment. The first is Charlie San. Would you like to be last, sir? Okay.
Good evening, Charlie San, 65 Ferry Street. I just have a few questions. The question is, where do I go and get a fair public record of a school improvement? Because there's a lot of change lately, like the test score and how individual schools are doing. Like now, the element and middle school start at 7:30, sir? Is that correct?
The middle school start at 7:30? Is that right?
7:30?
Different schools have different start times based on the individual schools and the council's desires.
And at the same time, or?
No, different schools have different start and different end times.
Okay.
Yeah, those decisions are made at the school level now by the teacher leadership teams working with the parents and the principals.
Mm-hmm. So where do I get the accurate report from those schools?
I think what might be helpful. So, I think what might be helpful is that if you are looking for a specific school, in the past it used to be.
For a Lawn Public School as a whole.
All right, so yeah, you'd have to maybe have an offline conversation with somebody in the superintendent's office to get every single building. That you'd have to get somebody in the superintendent's office.
I believe the hours are also listed on the website by individual schools if you go to the website.
Yeah. Okay. So just hold on a second, guys. So I know we only have one person on public participation, usually. So the rules are you get 2 minutes to talk, and no one really can answer you.
Right.
Okay.
All right?
That's fine.
So that's the fun part about it. So if you want some of those things answered, you should stick around afterwards and we can get some information to you. But usually the way that public participation is supposed to work is you talk for 2 minutes and then no one can answer you until afterwards when it's all over.
Okay.
Sorry.
So another question is, when is the school committee going to try to gain the power? I'm not saying that Mr. Riley doing a bad job. He's doing an okay job so far, but he's from the state. So when are we be able to get the power to hire, firing, and to have your voice be heard? And then right now, as far as I know, that your voice means nothing because the state is still in control of Lawn Public School. Is that correct? So, he's been here, he done a fine job, but we have to be standing on our own to have our taxpayer have confidence in our leadership in the city. So that's the question that I have also. And another one, it's been in my mind for quite a few years about Lawrence High School, sport, when they play the game, because our high school started at 8:30 instead of 7:30. So all our game being playing late. And if you end up playing at 7 o'clock, you got home 9:30, 10. So if a middle school, elementary school can start at 7:30, I don't see why Lawrence High School couldn't start at 7:30 and get out early and play at the same time as every other school. So it's just my concern because I have 4 children who play sport all the time when they were at Lawrence High School. So it's just now that if they have a 7 o'clock game, they come home tired, 9:30, 10 o'clock, and do their homework and maybe change, maybe. And another question is, I heard about the comment about the cut, the budget. I mean, it's just a rumor I heard, but for me, it's just a concern also that I heard rumor that Lawrence High School is going to go to a 1 school, and I don't know if that is true. I mean, if it happened, I mean, it saved us $1 million because right now we have, what, 17 principal over there? That we spend about $2 million. And
Your time's up.
all right,
We will be happy to answer many of your questions right after this meeting.
one more question for the young ladies.
Okay.
What is the highest GPA you can earn from Lawrence High School?
Thanks. We really can't go back and forth. Who's next?
At this time, Mr. Molly.
Good evening, honorable members.
Mr. Bali, you got an extra 30 seconds. That one was over, too.
Thank you, sir. We, the parent and the citizen, are proud that our public school is on the way to become the best public school in the nation. The best model of success that made our city, this city of immigrants, to rise up again. We are proud that our public school, with the impeccable leadership of Honorable Superintendent Raleigh, has begun to become the best public school in the nation. Now more level 1 school, more MCAS improvement, more high school graduate. We are proud to inform you that turnaround plan has impeccable job. Our 83,000 citizens are behind the best teachers and their union. The teachers that after years of not having any contract, for the first time they have contract. Parents support them and appreciate their hard work. Our Lawrence Public School has now a parent center that encourages the highest parental involvement. Turnaround plan brought the budget that most student-focused budget in 30 years of the history of Lawrence Public School. We demand of you as our elected official in this important election year, support our teachers and the union. Let's move forward. Thank you.
Thanks.
That closes public participation. Mr. Mayor, would you like to make a motion to close the meeting, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Made. Is there a second?
Yep.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.